You might think that the deep, icy expanses beneath the Antarctic ice sheets are barren, inhospitable wastelands, incapable of supporting life. Yet a recent miraculous discovery has forced scientists to reconsider everything they thought they knew about life in extreme environments. Beneath hundreds of meters of ice, a completely new ecosystem has been uncovered. An ecosystem where creatures not only exist, but thrive in conditions previously deemed impossible. Join us as we delve into this astonishing story where Earth's deepest secrets are gradually unveiled, challenging the previous limits of science and offering a new perspective on the extraordinary resilience of life. Beneath the 600 meters of ice below me is the most important point of all. While it's true that still waters run deep, the weirdest things can be found in ocean waves. The waters of the Earth are undoubtedly huge and enigmatic. As a result, it is not surprising that when people have explored them, they have discovered some pretty bizarre things. Previous research has suggested that the watery depths below the Antarctic ice shelves are too cold and nutrient-poor to sustain much life. However, a new study, revealed by Elon Musk, challenges researchers' understanding of the existence of life in extreme environments by exposing the discovery of a colony of animals on the seafloor. These animals aren't supposed to be alive there, and we have finally caught them on record. What exactly did researchers find in the far depths of the ocean? And why does this discovery have them scrambling for answers? Join us as we explore the impossible discovery made in the Arctic. A U.S. submarine made history in 1958 when it traveled beneath the ice to become the first craft to reach the North Pole. Scientists now have a whole new planet to investigate, thanks to its mission. Nowadays, nuclear-powered submarines are stealthy weapons of destruction and deterrent that can travel with torpedoes and nuclear missiles for months at a time. For instance, the UK has consistently maintained at least one submarine with nuclear weapons at sea since 1969. The mission was also a scientific milestone that helped pave the way for a new era of exploration and discovery about the unusual environment beneath the Arctic ice. It served as a testbed for the military potential of nuclear submarines. Both the Navy and scientists get new knowledge about the Arctic Ocean and the environment in which they operate. With the use of submarines, we have access to a hostile environment that helps us comprehend both the present situation as well as the future state of the environment. Not only is Antarctica the coldest continent, but it also has the most mysteries to be revealed. There is still a treasure mine of strange and amazing anomalies beneath the ice and seas, just waiting to be uncovered, despite its isolation, ominous climate. Nothing is simple when you're in the midst of the Filchner-Ronne ice shelf, 5 hours flight from the closest outpost in Antarctica. Geologist James Smith of the British Antarctic Survey survived over 3 months of sub-zero temperatures, sleeping in a tent and eating dehydrated food despite the fact that it was the southern summer. He needed seafloor sediment, which was trapped under a half-mile of ice to research the history of the floating shelf. But the science itself was a pain. Smith and his colleagues had to melt 20 tons of snow in order to produce 20,000 liters of hot water, which they then poured through a pipe lowered down a borehole in order to reach it. They had to chip away at the ice for 20 hours before they could ultimately break through the shelf. They then lowered a GoPro camera and a device to capture the sediment. But the collector returned empty-handed. They gave it another shot, still bare. Again, nothing is simple in this situation. The instrument's round trips took an hour. Later that evening, Smith examined the video in his tent and noticed a very obvious issue. The video depicts a plunge through 3,000 feet of bluish-green ice that abruptly ends and gives way to the deep ocean. Before the seafloor, mostly light-colored silt, which Smith was after, something dark, can be seen in the coasts another 1,600 feet. That mysterious object turned out to be a boulder, which the camera captures as it falls face first into the sediment. The camera rapidly corrects itself and scans the rock, exposing something completely unrelated to what the geologists were looking for. In actuality, it was something incredibly unlikely. They found life. There is only one large boulder in the center of the mostly level seafloor. It's not like the ocean floor is covered in debris of this nature. Just his luck. Smith chose the wrong spot to drill. Smith is not a biologist, but his British Antarctic Survey colleague, Hugh Griffiths, is. Griffiths saw a kind of film on the rock when he watched the video from the UK, which was probably a layer of microorganisms called a microbial mat. While sturdier cylindrical sponges gripped the surface, a sponge that looked like an alien and other stalking animals hung from the rock. Wispy filaments that may have been part of the bacterial mats, or even the strange hydroid animal dotted the rock. The nearest edge of the shelf, where the ice finishes and the open ocean begins, is 160 miles from the rock Smith unintentionally found. The closest place that might serve as a source of food is hundreds of miles away. This area would have sufficient sunshine to support an ecosystem and be in the appropriate position with respect to the rock for known currents to feed these organisms. As you get farther away from open sea and sunlight, all life becomes less abundant. According to current theories on what species could live beneath ice shelves, small mobile scavengers and predators such as fish, worms, jellyfish, or krill have been discovered in these settings in earlier investigations. However, it was anticipated that filter-feeding species, which depend on an outside source of food, would be among the first to submerge further. It's not our place to tell life what to do, yet it has no business being here. It's not the most exciting-looking rock if you don't know where it is, says Griffiths. Given that you are aware of it now, your jaw may be close to the floor at this moment. How did they get there is only one of the many questions that this find begs. What do they consume? They have been there for how long? How frequently do these covered boulders occur in nature? Are these the same species that we observe outside of the ice shelf? Or are they a different species? And in the event that the ice shelf fell, what would happen to these communities? These species are definitely living in complete darkness, which is great because many deep-sea creatures also do the same thing. However, creatures that lead sessile, immobile lives on the deep seafloor must rely on a reasonably constant source of food in the form of marine snow. Every living thing that is currently swimming in the water column above will eventually pass away and sink to the bottom of the ocean. Other animals pick at the bodies as they fall and begin to decay and spit off fragments, tiny bits that amass even on the deepest seafloors. This is effective in the majority of locations around Antarctica, where the seas are extremely productive. All species of fish, which in turn feed huge marine mammals like seals, are fed by tiny organisms known as plankton. All of this activity results in debris and dead creatures, which eventually turn into marine snow. However, the Antarctic animals that inhabit this particular rock don't reside beneath a busy water column. They are buried beneath a mile of thick ice. Moreover, they are unable to leave their rock in search of food. According to Griffiths, being something that's glued to the spot in a place where there isn't much food, and it is very sporadic, is the worst thing. Therefore, how on earth could they be feeding themselves? The food source is traveling horizontally rather than vertically, according to the researchers, who believe it is possible that the drift of this marine snow has been turned on its side. The researchers discovered that there are fruitful locations between 390 and 930 kilometers away after studying current charts near the drill site. Even while it might not be much, it's possible that hundreds of miles worth of organic material are traveling through these currents to support these animals. Given that marine snow formed at the surface must fall 7 miles to reach the seafloor in the deepest region of the ocean, the Challenger deep near Guam, that distance is astounding. Food would have to travel up to 133 times that far, and it would have to do so by floating sideways to get to the animals on this Antarctic rock. According to Rich Moy, curator of invertebrate zoology and geology at the California Academy of Sciences, who has studied Antarctic sea life, but wasn't involved in this new experiment. This isn't particularly far-fetched, given what scientists know about currents surrounding Antarctica. Seawater in the area becomes denser as it cools. According to Mui, it descends to the ocean floor and radiates outward from the Antarctic. And many, if not virtually all, of the current systems in the world are actually derived from these currents. Something needs to fill the space left behind when that water flows outward. There's going to be some inflow to replace that, says Mui. And that inflow will carry organic matter even over hundreds of kilometers. This would provide sustenance for our life forms that were trapped on that boulder. Additionally, the currents could introduce new species to the animal community on the rock. However, because they were unable to get samples, the researchers are still unsure of the precise diet of these sponges and other creatures. While some sponges are carnivorous and feed on small creatures, others filter organic debris from the water. That would be sort of your headline of the year, says Christopher Ma, a marine biologist at the Smithsonian, who wasn't involved in the research. Killer sponges living in the dark, cold recesses of Antarctica, where no life can survive. Since the camera didn't catch any fish or crustaceans, Dr. Griffiths and his team are also unsure if other mobile species, like fish and crustaceans, also inhabit the area around the rock, making it unclear whether the sessile animals are subject to predation. Do they all consume the same kind of food? Or do some of them maybe share nutrients with one another? Or are there additional roving creatures feeding this colony in any way? Only a different trip can provide the answers to these issues. The animals don't appear to be in danger of being buried, because it does seem that the sedimentation surrounding the rock isn't that heavy. It's kind of a Goldilocks type thing going on, says Griffiths of the rock's apparently fortuitous location, where it's got just enough food coming in, and it's got nothing that wants to eat them, as far as we can tell, and it's not getting buried by too much sediment. The discovery of ripples, which are generally created by currents, in the sediment surrounding the rock supported the idea that food was brought here from a distance. Furthermore, it's unclear how these immobile animals first arrived. Was it something that happened very locally, where they essentially hopped from one local boulder to another? Alternatively, it's possible that their parents were on a rock thousands of kilometers away, where a more typical marine ecology begins and the ice shelf ends, and they discharge their sperm and eggs to float in the currents. Griffiths and his colleagues are unable to estimate the age of these animals since they lack specimens. Given the long lifespans of Antarctic sponges, it's plausible that this ecosystem is incredibly old. The rock may have been infused with life long ago, but currents have also added new life to it through the centuries. Elon Musk, the researchers and others are unable to determine whether this rock is an anomaly or if such ecosystems are typical beneath the ice. These animal populations might not only have happened by chance when the scientists put their cameras onto the rock, perhaps they are a common sight on the seafloor beneath Antarctica's ice shelves. There would undoubtedly be ample space for such ecosystems, the 560,000 square kilometers of these floating ice shelves. However, only a space the size of a tennis court has been examined under them by scientists using earlier boreholes. It is therefore possible that they are many, and we haven't yet located them. This is the first recorded account of a hard substrate community, that is a boulder community, deep beneath an ice shelf. And it seems to defy all prior hypotheses regarding the kinds of life that would be able to endure there. The researchers estimate that this colony could be up to 1,500 kilometers upstream from the nearest source of photosynthesis, based on the local water currents. However, until the researchers have the equipment to gather samples of these species, a huge problem in itself, they won't know more about these animals. Other organisms are also known to acquire nutrients from glacial melts or compounds from methane seeps. Furthermore, using a sizable hot water drill, researchers discovered a never-before-seen ecosystem that lives in an underground river beneath the cold surface of the Larsen ice shelf. The covert habitat is located in a sizable chamber that is about 1,640 feet, 500 meters, below the ice's surface. After spotting an odd groove in a satellite photograph of the ice sheet, scientists discovered the underground structure, but they never expected to find anything within when they eventually dug down to explore it. Instead, the crew discovered tens of thousands of small amphipod crustaceans, which had them jumping up and down for joy. Scientists now have the most in-depth understanding of the seafloor surrounding Antarctica, including its deepest point, the Factorian Deep, thanks to a new map of the Southern Ocean. The Factorian Deep was just found in 2019. It lies at a depth of about 24,400 feet, 7,437 NEOM, below the ocean's surface, or 17 Empire State Buildings, stacked top to bottom. But up until this point, scientists were unaware of how it interacted with the nearby seafloor. The new map, which covers more than 18.5 million square miles, 48 million square kilometers of the seafloor, is based on more than 1,200 sonar datasets, the majority of which were obtained by science vessels. The sea bottom map will be used by researchers to locate any seamounts or underwater mountains that might be marine life hotspots. We need to figure out a means to interact closely with these animals and their surroundings in order to receive the answers to our queries. We might be out of time to accomplish this. Despite being hidden beneath a half-mile of ice, this rock is increasingly in danger due to global warming. Future collapse of some of these large ice shelves could result in the loss of a distinctive ecology. Thwaites Glacier in Antarctica, also known as the Doomsday Glacier, was observed by underwater robots to be clinging to the seafloor by its fingernails. Once it separates, it may meet its end sooner than predicted because of its quick speed and a sharp increase in ice loss. During previously unrecognized phases of fast retreat within the last several centuries, the glacier scraped down the ocean floor, leaving behind a sequence of parallel grooves according to a new map of the seafloor encircling the glacial behemoth. Researchers caution that excessive heat brought on by climate change could bring about this kind of rapid melting once more. Hold tight as we explore the electrifying revelations surrounding Elon Musk's recent announcement. What Elon Musk had claimed was true? Is it the end time? Brace yourself for a shocking truth that will leave you speechless. Elon Musk's recent warning about the potential drying up of the Euphrates River carries significant implications for the world. The river holds historical importance and aligns with events mentioned in the Bible. While Jesus Christ stated that only God knows the timing of his second coming and the arrival of a new generation, many individuals have tried to predict these events, proclaiming the approaching final judgment. This has sparked intense debates and discussions among preachers, self-proclaimed doomsayers, and various online communities focused on prophecy and Bible study. Extensive research has already been conducted on these matters as people seek to understand and prepare for what lies ahead. The Euphrates River has played a vital role in the history of civilizations, particularly the Mesopotamian kingdom. Today it flows through Iraq, Syria, and Turkey, sustaining diverse plant life despite human modifications. The river's main source is rainfall and melting snow, resulting in the highest water levels in April and May. After the breakup of the Ottoman Empire, the Treaty of Lausanne in 1923 required Turkey, France, and the United Kingdom to agree on water usage and infrastructure along the Euphrates. Subsequent agreements allowed Iraq to build dams on Turkish land, while Turkey initiated the Southeastern Anatolia project in the 1970s, constructing dams for irrigation and hydroelectricity. However, the construction of these dams has had significant environmental and cultural impacts, displacing people and destroying villages. In recent years, the water level of the Euphrates River has dropped to a dangerously low level. Turkey has reduced the water flow into Syria, falling below the agreed amount in 1987. Recent photographs reveal that a substantial portion of the Euphrates River has dried up, transforming once vital areas into deserts. The water level of the Tishrin Dam in Syria has also notably dropped. Turkey's actions, halting the water flow into Iraq and Syria, go against the 1987 agreement. The declining water levels have severe consequences, including decreased electricity production, limited agricultural land, and challenges accessing clean drinking water. Widespread illness among the affected population has also been reported. The self-governing region in North and East Syria has raised concerns about Turkey's plan to further reduce the Euphrates River's level, warning of impending humanitarian crises and the risk to millions of Syrians residing along the river. Authorities responsible for the dams have appealed for international intervention to halt Turkey's actions. Geologists are troubled by the declining water levels, hindering their ability to identify the underlying causes. The United Nations has warned that heat waves will intensify in the Mediterranean area. Lake Assad in Syria is deteriorating, and Syria ranks among the countries most at risk, according to the World Climate Danger Index. The Euphrates River holds significance in various religious texts. According to Genesis 2:14 in the Bible, the river named Perith, meaning the Euphrates, is one of the 4 rivers that flow from the Garden of Eden. It marked one of the boundaries of the land promised by God to Abraham and his descendants. The Hebrew Bible often refers to it simply as the river. God promises Abram, "To your descendants I give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates." The Bible also contains prophecies related to the Euphrates River. In Revelation 16:12, it is prophesied that the Euphrates will dry up in preparation for the battle of Armageddon. Islamic hadiths, or sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, also mention the Euphrates. Some hadiths suggest that the river will dry up, revealing treasures that will cause strife and war. People are believed to fight over these treasures, and a great number will perish. Prophecies from the Prophet Muhammad. According to Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, the Prophet Muhammad said, "The hour will not come to pass before the river Euphrates dries up to unveil the mountain of gold, for which people will fight. 99 out of 100 will die in the fighting, and every man among them will say, 'Perhaps I may be the only one to remain alive.'" Another hadith states, "Soon the river Euphrates will disclose the treasure, the mountain of gold. So, whoever will be present then should not take anything of it." Let's explore in detail what does the Bible say about the Euphrates. The book of Revelation has been a source of intrigue and speculation for many individuals. One particular aspect that captures attention is the mention of the Euphrates River and its significance in the final days. The drying up of the Euphrates River. In chapter 16 of the book of Revelation, the drying up of the Euphrates River is mentioned as a symbolic act. This act represents clearing the way for the kings from the east. An angel pours out a bowl, causing the river to dry up. Contrary to the perception of polluting or denying access to water, this action breaks down a defensive barrier, enabling the kings from the east to launch an attack. The Euphrates River held immense importance as a boundary marking the eastern limit of Israel's land. Stretching over 2,000 miles, it separated the west from the east, with China and India located to the east in ancient times. This river played a pivotal role in history when Cyrus of Persia's army conquered Babylon by diverting the flow of the Euphrates River, allowing them to enter the city. Similarly, during the Great Tribulation, an enemy from the east will cross the Euphrates River, pass through Babylon, and proceed into Palestine, as prophesied in the book of Revelation. Revelation 9:14 instructs the 6th angel to release the 4 angels held at the great Euphrates River. The mention of angels being bound indicates that they are fallen angels. dwelling in chains of gloomy darkness. These events signify the fulfillment of biblical prophecies, symbolism, and strange voices. The Euphrates Valley, where these angels are held captive, is associated with sin, possibly due to its proximity to the Garden of Eden, where the first murder occurred. Some reports suggest that strange voices have emerged from the drying river, symbolizing the creation of a safe path. People interpret these events as signs of Christ's return to defeat enemies and establish the heavenly kingdom. Insights from Pastor Joseph Cabaletta. During the 2022 Watchers meeting led by Pastor Joseph Cabaletta of Watchman Ministries, he urged the people of Uganda to be vigilant for the end of the world. He claimed to reveal shocking truths that make sense of intricate biblical prophecies. He also highlighted the fulfillment of certain predictions, such as the revival of the Dead Sea, which was foretold in Ezekiel 47, the discovery of freshwater fish ponds along the Dead Sea's shores, confirmed the accuracy of this prophecy. Pastor Cabaletta also shared insights about an intense battle described in Ezekiel 38 and Revelation 9, set to occur near the Euphrates River in the last days. According to the Bible, a vast coalition of nations, including Russia, China, and several Middle Eastern countries, will unite against Israel. Cabaletta warned that if Israel is overrun by a 200 million strong army, they may use nuclear weapons or face complete destruction. Fulfillment of prophecy. Revelation 16:12 predicts that the Euphrates River will dry up, allowing soldiers to move easily during a battle. Interestingly, the river has indeed dried up this year, aligning with the prophecy. Experts warn that without intervention, the river may disappear completely by 2040. As the war causes unprecedented damage, the world is expected to help the warring parties reach a temporary peace agreement, as mentioned in Daniel 9:27. After this time, Jesus is believed to return and take charge. The Euphrates River and climate change. While some attribute the river's drying to climate change, others see it as the fulfillment of biblical predictions. Elon Musk has conducted studies and supported scientific information regarding the river's condition, indicating a broader interest beyond religious perspectives. Surely the drying up of the Euphrates River holds great significance in biblical prophecies related to the end times. What do you think of the Euphrates River drying up and the rapture announcement by Elon Musk?